So the title of this video is a little bit clickbaity, but it's also more or less true. There is one thing you can do that will elevate your culture the second you've done it. It's not easy, but it is simple. And it's the most important secret that I know about building a brilliant culture. Get the right people on the bus. You can develop an amazing mission, vision, and purpose. You can create compelling, unique values and non-negotiables. You can implement amazing performance management, develop your team, give them an incredible experience, and lead them with inspiration. But if they aren't the right people, your culture will never thrive. It's extremely difficult to change people's fundamental beliefs and characteristics, not to mention morally questionable in some cases. So why would you try? Yes, it can be difficult to find the right technical skills in biotech, especially if you're working on something particularly niche. But it's much easier for someone to learn new techniques, skills, and approaches than it is for them to adapt to a brand new set of values, especially when those values don't align with what's been ingrained in them for decades. And this is often why someone who's a higher performer in one environment then struggles in another. How comfortable people feel being themselves, how congruent the work they're doing and the way it's done is with how they see themselves, and how naturally and authentically they're able to behave, all have an impact on performance. If you're expending significant energy on adapting, on fitting in or masking, then you'll be much less focused on doing a fantastic job. So achievement and track record, although important, shouldn't be considered alone. It's also about how suited an individual is to the culture they'll be operating in. And the research supports this. Gallup have found that companies with highly engaged teams on average achieve a 23% higher profitability than those with disengaged employees. And cultural alignment has a significant impact on engagement, so therefore has a direct influence on profitability, which in pre-revenue companies, like most of you in the biotech sector, translates into productivity. There's also financial risk in hiring someone who doesn't fit because it's unlikely that they'll stay for long. In the research we've done at Singular, we've calculated that the average cost of a bad hire based on a salary of £50,000 is just shy of 40k, £39,615 to be precise. And this cost increases as the salary does. There's also a less tangible but no less important impact in terms of the amount of time spent recruiting and training the person, loss of productivity due to distraction and inadequate performance, and the negative impact on teamwork and morale. So getting the right people on the bus carries a financial incentive too. It doesn't remove the need to cultivate the culture you're creating, but that ideal environment becomes so much easier to realize when you have people in your team that naturally behave in a way that's consistent with it. But what are the actual steps you should take in order to identify and select those people who align with your culture? Well, the secret lies in your values, and specifically in values-based hiring. Your objective when hiring is to screen candidates on values fit first and technical fit second. Now that might seem counterintuitive, and of course you're going to run a technical pass over their CV before you speak to them, just to make sure they have the right fundamental skills for the role, but your first proper interview should be entirely focused on how well they align with your values. I've talked in the past about turning your values into competencies to make them useful, and that's an essential first step. Once you have those competencies, then you should ask questions about when each candidate has demonstrated them in the past. Look for specific examples and make sure you dig into the detail. If you're satisfied with an individual's fit with your values, then you can move on to technical screening. Now, that might mean that you rule out some candidates who, on paper, look like the most qualified. But if they're the wrong people for your environment, however talented they are, you're letting yourself in for major headaches and costs further down the line. So if there's one thing you should do to put your culture development efforts on a fast track, get the right people on the bus. Everything else will become easier.